আচ্ছা, আমরা এতদিন পড়তেছিলাম যে glomerular filtration, then tubular reabsorption, then tubular secretion, then last class আমরা কিছু definition করছিলাম যেগুলো তোমাদের রিটেনে আসে, রিটেন এক্সামে অন্য কোশ্চেনের সাথে শুরুতে দিয়ে দেয় 1 marks 2 marks 1.5 marks এর জন্য। সো দেন আমরা ইউরিন ফর্মেশন করছি, বেসিক স্টেপস গুলা কি ছিল? বেসিক স্টেপস গুলা there is glomerular filtration, tubular reabsorption, tubular secretion. Glomerular reabsorption what happened in glomerular filtration, then movement of substance from blood থেকে substance move করে efferent artery দিয়ে entry করবে, then filtered হবে through the glomerular membrane. After filtration it goes through the with efferent arteries. After filtration then it will go in the duodenal tubules, and then tubular reabsorption and tubular secretion occurs. Tubular reabsorption is movement of substance from the tubular fluid back into the blood. The tubular fluid filtered হওয়ার পরে after filtration থেকে in the tubules reabsorb হয়। See, it's the lumen, then cells, then interstitium, then peritubular capillaries in the blood. এভাবে tubular reabsorption occur. Then tubular secretion occur. Tubular secretion, movements of substance from the blood into the tubular fluid. Blood থেকে substance are secreted হয়। Secretion. Tubular secretion. So these are the basic steps. First of all, glomerular filtration, then tubular reabsorption, then tubular secretion. After that, after glomerular filtration, tubular reabsorption, and tubular secretion, urine will form and it will excrete from the body থেকে excrete হয়ে যাবে urine. So now urine formation হলো which type of urine? Either it's dilute urine or it's concentrated urine. So today আমরা আজকে পড়ব mechanism of formation of dilute and concentrated. How dilute urine formed, how concentrated urine formed. So how dilute urine is formed? Kidney excrete excess water by forming dilute. Kidney excrete excess water from dilute urine. Forming dilute urine. Body থেকে body যে excess water আছে সেটাকে kidney excrete করে by forming dilute urine. Dilute urine তৈরি করে form করে then it will excrete. And concentrated urine when concentrated urine is formed when there is less water in the body, there is lack of water in the body. Kidney conserve the water and produce concentrated and excrete concentrated. So when body te water পরিমাণ large amount excess amount থাকে তখন kidney urine টাকে dilute form করে, and when there is lack of water in the body, kidney produced concentrated. Now what is dilute urine? What is dilute urine? When there is a large excess of water in the body and body fluid osmolarity is reduced, the kidney can excrete as much as 20 liters per day of urine with an osmolarity as low as 50 milliosmol per liter. This urine is referred to as dilute. That means when there is large excess of water, যখন বডিতে there is a large amount of water amount is excessive, and body fluid osmolarity reduced. When we know osmolarity, it depends on concentration of the solid. When there is excess water, then concentration of solid it decrease. Solid concentration কমে যাবে. So when there is low in concentration of the solute, so osmolarity will be reduced. Osmolarity reduced হবে because of there is large amount of water, excessive water. So solute will be less in comparison with water. So osmolarity will reduced. So এটাই বলছে when there is a large excess of water in the body and body fluid osmolarity reduces. When যখন বডিতে ওয়াটারের পরিমাণটা ওয়াটার অ্যামাউন্টটা এক্সেসিভ হবে দেন বডি ফ্লুইড অসমোলারিটিটা রিডিউসড হবে why because we know osmolarity depends on concentration of the solutes. so যদি তখন ওয়াটারের পরিমাণটা ওয়াটার অ্যামাউন্টটা লার্জ হয় এক্সেসিভ হয় দেন সলিউটের কনসেন্ট্রেশনটা কমে যাবে সো osmolarity will reduce. So the kidney can excrete as much as 20 liter per day. Kidney per day 20 liter water excrete করতে পারে. With an osmolarity as low as 50 milliosmol per liter. Osmolarity 50 এতটা low হবে যে it will be 50 milliosmol per liter. So when the kidney excrete 50 milliosmol per liter urine, this urine is referred to as dilute urine. তখন আমরা এই ইউরিনটাকে dilute urine করব. Mechanism of formation of dilute urine. How dilute urine is formed? When the glomerular filtrate is initially formed, the osmolarity is about the same as that of plasma. We know আমরা যখন দেখি glomerular after glomerular filtration there is a mild difference between the plasma and glomerular filtration. In plasma there is blood cells, but in glomerular filtration there is no blood cells, and there is less protein also in in glomerular filtration. So when the but almost osmolarity is almost same. Plasma osmolarity is about 280 to 300 milliosmol per liter, and also in the glomerular filtration osmolarity also 280 to 300 milliosmol per liter. So when glomerular filtration is formed, its osmolarity is same as plasma osmolarity. To excrete excess water, it is necessary to dilute the filter. যদি আমরা এক্সেস ওয়াটারটা এক্সক্রিট করতে চাই সো এই ফিল্ট্রেশনটা ডাইলুট হতে হবে এই অসমোলারিটিটা লেস হতে হবে সো this dilution is achieved by reabsorbing solutes to greater extent than water. So এই dilutionটা অ্যাচিভ করার জন্য সলিউট বেশি সলিড reabsorb করতে হবে. So when we reabsorb large amount of solute, then water will get diluted. Because we know osmolarity depends on solid concentration. So if there is less amount of solid in the filtration, so there is more amount of water. So that filtration will get diluted. So filtration can dilute water. This is basic mechanism. Now, tubular fluid remains isosmotic in the proximal tubule. Either it is forming dilute urine or concentrated urine in the proximal tubule. Osmolarity will be the same as plasma. As fluid flow through the proximal tubule, solids and water reabsorb. When আমরা যখন tubular reabsorption করছি তখন আমরা দেখছি in the proximal convoluted tubule there is also solid reabsorption and also water reabsorption occur. So as fluid flows through the proximal tubule, solids and water are reabsorbed in equal proportions. So little change in the osmolarity occurs. There is no big difference. Osmolarity almost same because there is water and solid both are reabsorbed. So thus the proximal tubule fluid remains isosmotic to the plasma with an osmolarity of about 300 milliosmol per. So in the proximal tubule, filtration will isosmotic as to the plasma. Plasmaর মধ্যে osmolarity থাকবে 300 milliosmol per liter. So there is no change. There is no actually significant change in the filtration of the filtration in the proximal tubule. Proximal tubule filtration osmolarity change of the significance হবে না. Same as plasma থাকবে isosmotic to plasma. Now, in the descending loop of Henle, as fluid passes down the descending loop of Henle, as fluid passes down the descending loop of Henle, water is reabsorbed by osmosis. We know in the descending loop of Henle there is water reabsorption occurs. The tubular fluid reaches equilibrium with the surrounding interstitial fluid of the renal medulla, which is very hypertonic, about 2 to 4 times the osmolarity of the original glomerular filter. Tubular fluid interstitial fluided equilibrium of the renal medulla, which is very hypertonic. Hypertonic because water will be reabsorbed. Water reabsorbed, there is only solid remains. So water will remain, but in comparison, solid থেকে কম হবে. So that will be hypertonic. Hypertonic hypertonic হবে. About 2 to 4 times of the osmolarity of the original glomerular filtration osmolarity থেকে বেড়ে যাবে. Now tubular fluid is dilute in the ascending loop. Now dilution starts. Now in the ascending loop. In the ascending loop of Henle, especially in the thick segment, sodium potassium chloride are actively reabsorbed. However, the portion of the tubular segment is impermeable to water even in the presence of large amount of air. In the ascending loop of there is no water reabsorption. Normally there is no water reabsorption, though there is in presence of antidiuretic hormone presence ascending loop of water reabsorbed হয় না. It's normal condition. So in this condition, there is no water reabsorption occur. The tubular fluid becomes more dilute. যেহেতু water reabsorption হচ্ছে না, tubular fluid becomes more dilated, hypoosmotic হয়ে যাচ্ছে because solids will reabsorb but no water reabsorption occurs. So filtration will become hypoosmotic. As it flows up the ascending loop of Henle into the early distal tubule with the osmolarity decreasing about 100 milliosmol per liter. যখন ascending loop of Henle থেকে filtrationটা ascend করবে in the distal tubule, ওখানে তখন osmolarity 100 milliosmol per liter হবে, মানে hyposmolar হয়ে যাবে. Now, tubular fluid in the distal and collecting tubules further dilated. In the ascending loop of Henle, dilution starts. Dilution becomes more dilute. Dilution by hyposmotic pressure. In the collecting ductal tubules, more dilution. Further dilution. Dilution there is additional reabsorption of sodium chloride we know in the distal and collecting tubules and ductales. There is sodium chloride reabsorption high. So solid will reabsorb. In the absence of ADH, this portion of the tubule is also impermeable to water. ADH না থাকলে এই distal and collecting tubules water reabsorption হয় না. This part is impermeable to water in the absence of ADH hormone. So therefore the tubular fluid become more dilute. তখন osmolarity will be 50 milliosmol per liter. The mechanism for forming dilute urine is to continue reabsorbing solutes from the distal segment of the tubular system while failing to reabsorb water in absence of ADH hormone. Mechanism dilute urine forming mechanism to continue process চলবে solute reabsorb করে from the distal segment of tubular segment while failing to reabsorb water in the absence of ADH hormone. Now আমরা এখন ফিগারে দেখব তাহলে আপনারা ক্লিয়ার হবে ব্যাপারটা। After filtration, glomerular filtration, its osmolarity is same as plasma. It's about 300 milliosmol per liter in the proximal tubule. Because there is solutes and water reabsorption occur equally, so there is no significant change in the osmolarity. In the descending loop of Harvey, there is water reabsorption occurs because under the influence of ADH also there is no water reabsorption. ADH hormone presence এই পার্টটাতে কোনো water reabsorb হয় না. This is totally impermeable to water. So এখানে osmolarity will become more 400, then it will become 600. Then when it will ascend, see there is 400 milliosmol per liter. When it ascends in the ascending wave of probability, more solute will reabsorb. There is no water reabsorption occur. So osmolarity will become 100 milliosmol per liter in the distal tubule, and also in the collecting tubule there is a solid reabsorption occur, water reabsorption occur in the absence of ADH. ADH hormone presence থাকে না, influence থাকে না, so water will reabsorb, so osmolarity to decrease by 50 milliosmol per liter পর্যন্ত হয়, then dilute urine is formed. তখন dilute urine form হবে। আমরা আবার একটু রিপিট করি। What is dilute urine? আমরা দেখেন যে বললাম dilute urine হচ্ছে when there is large excess of water in the body and the body fluid, osmolarity is reduced. Osmolarity টা কমে যাবে বডিতে যখন ফ্লুইডের অ্যামাউন্টটা বেশি হবে, এক্সেসিভ অ্যামাউন্ট অফ ওয়াটার ফ্লুইড হবে, then body fluid osmolarity will reduce first of all. Then kidney has the ability to extract as much as 20 liter per day. Per day 20 liter পরিমাণ পানি ওয়াটার এক্সট্রাক্ট করতে পারে কিডনি ফ্লুইড or water of urine in the form of urine with an osmolarity as low as 50 milliosmol per liter. Osmolarity টা 350 milliosmol per liter পর্যন্ত it can be decreased. So this urine is referred as dilute. যখন osmolarity decrease করবে 300 থেকে to 50 milliosmol per liter, ওই ইউরিনটাই হচ্ছে dilute urine. Mechanism of formation of dilute urine. How dilute urine is formed? When the glomerular filtration is initially formed, its osmolarity is about the same as that of plasma. যখন glomerular filtration filtered হয়, glomerular filtration formed হয়, এটার osmolarity plasma osmolarity same থাকবে. And osmolarity depends concentration of the solute. Solute or concentration will depend on it. If there is more solute than the water, so it is hyperosmolar. When there is equal amount of water and solute, it is isosmolar. When there is less solute and more water, it is hyposmolar. So যখন glomerular filtration হয় formed হয় then it osmolarity same as plasmaর মতোই থাকে. To extract excess water, it is necessary dilute the filter. যখন বডিতে এক্সেস ওয়াটার থাকবে সো এই glomerular filtrationটা has to be dilute হয়ে more water extract করতে পারবে বডি থেকে. This dilution is achieved by reabsorbing solids. Solid বেশি বেশি reabsorb করলে greater extent than water থেকে বেশি বেশি solid reabsorb করলে filtration will dilute. Then it excreted as dilute urine. The dilute urine হিসেবে excreted হবে. Tubular fluid remains isosmotic in the proximal tubule. Proximal tubule isosmotic থাকে because when glomerular filtration form, then in the proximal tubule, water and solids reabsorb equal proportion of water and solid reabsorb. Little change occurs, but that change is not significant. So little change in osmolarity occurs. Thus, the proximal fluid remains isosmotic to plasma. Plasma osmolarity equally থাকে in the proximal tubule with an osmolarity of about 300 milliosmol per liter. In the descending loop of Heli, as fluid passes down in the descending loop of Heli, water is reabsorbed by osmosis. In descending loop of Heli, functioning just water reabsorb kora. There is no solid reabsorption occur. No solid reabsorb হয় না in the descending loop of Heli. So when water reabsorbed হবে in the descending loop of Heli, the tubular fluid reaches equilibrium with the surrounding interstitial fluid. Surrounding interstitial fluid equilibrium হয়ে যাবে আর এগুলা which is very hypertonic. Hypertonic হবে hyperosmolar হবে about 2 to 4 times of the osmolarity of the original glomerular filtration. Original glomerular filtration থেকে 2 to 4 times more osmolar হবে. যদি ফিগারটাতে দেখি যে in the proximal tubule almost same as plasma 3 osmol per liter, but in the descending loop of Heli water reabsorbed হয়, there is no solid reabsorption, so osmolarity 2 to 4 times increase করে like 600 milliosmol per liter. It's increasing 2 times. Then the osmolarity of in the proximal tubule. Proximal tubule 300, but in the descending loop of Heli it will become 600 because only water reabsorbed occurs in the descending loop of Heli by osmosis. Now, what happened in the ascending loop of Heli? Now, tubular fluid is diluted in ascending loop. When fluid becomes hyperosmolar in the descending loop of Heli, now it will become dilute in the ascending loop of Heli. How? In the ascending loop of Heli, especially in the thick segment, sodium, potassium, and chloride are actively reabsorbed. However, this portion of the tubular segment is impermeable to water even in the presence of large amount of ADH. The tubular fluid becomes more dilute. See, in the ascending loop of Heli, in the thick portion, more solid will reabsorb. There is no water reabsorption. It's totally impermeable to water under the influence of ADH. ADH influence, so it is impermeable water. এখানে ADH এর কোনো ইনফ্লুয়েন্স হয় না, হলেও water can be reabsorbed in these segments. So only solute reabsorb. When only solute reabsorb, there is no water reabsorption, so the tubular fluid becomes more dilute. The fluidটা আরো dilute হয়ে যায়. It's become hyposmolar because solids already reabsorbed হয়ে গেছে. As it flows up in the ascending loop of Henle into the early distal tubule. যখন ascending loop থেকে early distal tubule যায়, its osmolarity become almost above 100 milliosmol per liter. See, when it's flow from proximal থেকে, ascending loop of থেকে in the early distal, its osmolarity become almost 100 milliosmol per liter. Now, what happened in the distal and collecting tubule is their fluid is further diluted. Are diluted hobe? How? There is additional reabsorption of sodium chloride in the absence of ADH. This portion of the tubule is also impermeable to water. Therefore, the tubular fluid become more dilute, decreasing its osmolarity to as low as 50 milliosmol per liter. আমরা যখন ওয়াটার রিঅ্যাবজর্পশন করছিলাম, টিউবুলার রিঅ্যাবজর্পশন করছিলাম, তখন আমরা দেখছিলাম in the distal tubules and collecting tubules there is a reabsorption of sodium chloride occurred, and in the presence of ADH hormone, water reabsorption occurred. But in this case, there is no ADH hormone, কোনো ADH hormone still secreted হবে না, কোনো ADH hormone influence থাকবে না, so water is impermeable to this portion. So tubular fluid become more diluted. Osmolarity 100 থেকে decrease হতে 50 milliosmol per liter. So dilute urine form 50 osmol per liter milliosmol per liter একটা concentration এ urine form হবে, then it will be excreted as dilute urine. So I hope তোমরা এই dilute urine formation mechanismটা বুঝতে পারছো, because dilute urine formation mechanism না বুঝলে concentration-টা বোঝা যায় না. So these are the steps of mechanism of formation of dilute urine. আজকে আমরা কনসেন্ট্রেটেড ইউরিনের মেকানিজম পড়বো না, বাট কনসেন্ট্রেটেড ইউরিনটা কি একটু ডেফিনিশনটা জেনে রাখি, আমরা নেক্সট ক্লাসে কনসেন্ট্রেটেড ইউরিনের মেকানিজম পড়বো ফরমেশনের, হুইচ ইজ কল্ড কাউন্টার কারেন্ট মেকানিজম. সো ওইটা একটু ঝামেলা আছে, সো আমরা ওইটা নেক্সট ক্লাসে পড়বো. সো হোয়াট ইজ কনসেন্ট্রেটেড, আমরা কখন কনসেন্ট্রেটেড ইউরিন পড়বো? when there is a deficit of water in the body. তখন আমরা dilute urine করছিলাম, now there is excess amount of water in the body, so water urine is become diluted. But when there is less water, deficit of water in the body, and extracellular fluid osmolarity high হয়ে যাবে, because as আমরা আগে জানছি যে osmolarity depends on solids content concentration. So when less amount of water solid concentration টা বেশি হয়ে যাবে, so osmolarity will also be high. The kidney can excrete highly concentrated urine 0.5 liter per day. 0.5 to 20 liter per পর্যন্ত kidney can excrete. একদম concentrated হবে 0.5 liter per day and diluted হবে 20 liter per day. So highly concentrated osmolarity maybe 1200 to 1400 milliosmol. Normally though it's 280 to 300 milliosmol urine excrete. When dilute then it become about 50 milliosmol per liter. But when concentrated urine is formed, its osmolarity become 1200 to 1400, highly concentrated. This urine is referred to as concentrated urine. The তখন এই ইউরিনটাকে অ্যাজ এ কনসেন্ট্রেটেড ইউরিন হিসেবে প্রিফার করা হয়। সো আই হোপ তোমরা অ্যাটলিস্ট বেসিক ডিফারেন্সটা বুঝতে পারছো যে when dilated urine is from, when concentrated urine is from, how dilated urine is from, how concentrated urine is from আমরা নেক্সট ক্লাসে কাউন্টার মেকানিজম এর মাধ্যমে বুঝবো। সো ভালো করে ডাইলুট ইউরিন মেকানিজম ফরমেশনটা যদি ভালো করে বোঝা যায়, দেন কনসেন্ট্রেটেড ইউরিন হাউ ফ্রম ইন মেকানিজম অফ কাউন্টার কারেন্ট মেকানিজমের মাধ্যমে ওইটা আরো ভালোভাবে বোঝা যাবে। সো আই হোপ তোমরা ডাইলুটেড ইউরিনের মেকানিজমটা বুঝতে পারছো।